What's up, YouTube? This video is going to have a little bit of a different vibe, mostly because, like, the video I wanted to do, I don't have time to edit, and I wanted that one out Monday, and that didn't happen because Sunday, I got a chance to work a 49ers game at Levi's Stadium down in Santa Clara, California. They won, by the way, if you care about that football stuff. But when I took this job, I honestly had to do the hardest thing I had to do in a while. Leave Mickey inside the box truck while I went to work an 8-hour day. Temperatures were mild and he had food, water, and a clean litter box. The box truck was also in a secure lot for employees only, with people patrolling the lot, but it didn't make it any easier to get on the employee shuttle and be driven away from him and our home to be taken to the stadium. As with most stadium jobs I get through the temp agency app, there was basically a lot of getting paid to stand around while they shuffled the temps around, gave us uniformed, and assigned us spots to work within that first hour. I was basically part of the safety team, which is basically an extension of the security team. We watched the gate, check bags, investigate pings on the metal detector. The biggest hurdle I mostly dealt with doing this job is telling women their purses were too big and couldn't be brought into the stadium. You could tell which women went to games frequently and who was being dragged along with their boyfriend. But that's not the point of this video. Getting on that employee shuttle and having to go back to it at the end of the evening kind of pinged a special feeling in me about why I maybe avoided building out a bus and instead decided to build out a box truck. So I was like, hey, let me do a video on that. So on paper, a lot about shuttle buses, short buses, and box trucks are actually pretty much the same. For example, I have a Ford Econoline van cab, and so can a short bus or a shuttle bus. Now, when you get up into the bigger classes of all three of these, the cabs get in a different size category, but at the smaller shuttle bus size, the short bus size, and the small box truck size, the cabs are basically the same. They came from the same factory and then were sent out as cabs to become these other vehicles. Both buses and box trucks give you more space than the van, as they punch out a little bit from the cab area, giving you just a bit more floor space to build in for your tiny house. Now, when I said I wanted a box truck, a huge deal was made about windows. That's one of the big advantages about buses, is they have a bunch of windows. But it wasn't a huge deal to me because I knew I could just install the amount of windows I wanted. A bus, to me, just has too many windows, most of which I likely would have ended up blocking or deleting or blacking out just to reach my end goal. It happened in the Chevy van, which had pretty much a bunch of windows, most of which were blocked by furniture or barely used. It happened in the minivan because for stealth and living, I mostly had the windows blocked off most of the time except for one. The windows were mostly not used in both of those vehicles, even though they were there. There were a few select windows that were useful, and the rest of them were just things I had to block or, you know, put furniture in front of. All three of the windows in my box truck, however, are intentionally placed and intentionally used. Even the one in the front, which is now mostly blocked by the mattress, helps with cross breeze when I want it, and of course Mickey uses it. I have no more or less in my box truck than the intended amount of windows for the intended amount of use. The other thing I really liked about box trucks is they were, well, boxes. There were generally less odd corners to deal with in a box truck than in a bus. Now, a lot of school buses are also pretty square, at least a little closer to square than most vans. Shuttle buses, however, can trick you and appear more square than they actually are. It actually varies from bus to bus, and a lot of times, just like with vans, you can't even really tell until you start trying to square up things inside the box. A box truck is also almost always just an empty box on the back of the cab. The only real question in getting it was if I was going to be able to access that box without getting out of the cab. And resolving that is pretty easy. Pass-throughs can be built, and a lot of time it just involves cutting one rectangular hole. Sometimes you have to add a little bit of accordion belt. But either way, it's honestly pretty easy. But I got lucky, and my box truck already had a pass-through door. But the real advantage to the box truck for me was honestly not having any seats to get rid of. When I got the Chevy van, it was already in camper van state, so I didn't have to get rid of any of its original seats. But when I removed the seats from my minivan, I then had to figure out what to do with them. Even if I sold the minivan in what was, at that time, some unknown future, I already knew I planned to do it as a camper van and not take on the expense of storing seats. I had no idea how long I would be living in that minivan as a camper, and I did not want to waste money on storage. But just finding someone to haul them away was kind of a pain, and I wouldn't even want to try to find someone to haul away a bunch of bus seats. There just isn't a market for them, and if you don't have like space to take your time with it or any of that, it can become a huge pain in the butt. I had no interest in removing a bunch of seats and trying to figure out what to do with them. That being said, I was open to the possibility of finding a bus when I was looking to transition out of my Chevy van. And there was a point where I almost bought a bus, but it was already empty of its seats. It was a project someone had started without finishing it, and therefore a massive amount of gutting had already been done. But fates had it that me and that bus didn't end up working out. But all of these reasons are just the practical reasons. When I was sitting on that shuttle bus, being shuttled to work, and then when I had to rush to the shuttle bus stop to get shuttled back to my vehicle, that's when I really thought about the deeper reason I maybe, in a way, didn't want a bus. Even though I said I was open to it, I think there was something in me that actually didn't want it. And that's more of an emotional thing. So here's the thing. I got my license later in life than a lot of people. I was 33 when I became officially licensed. I'd spent a number of years trying to get my license, but basically once you're an adult, it's not like your parents can just teach you to drive, you know, depending on your situation. You're an adult who's trying to find other adults who don't mind trusting their vehicle on an inexperienced driver and teaching you how to drive. Now, I found multiple people, but seeing as we were both working adults, like, people would disappear on me and, you know, schedules got busy, and it basically got really difficult for me to actually transition from a learner's permit to a license. Until I turned 33 and the process was finally complete. At my current age of 42, I've actually been a fully licensed driver less than 10 years. For all the time before that, I actually took public transportation, mostly the bus. When I was living in Baltimore and everything was relatively close, it wasn't that big of a deal. Then I got a job that was a 2-hour commute on a good day, and I also went back to college. So I was trying to work super early hours so that I had the maximum amount of options for classes, and my commutes became long and terrible. And you were either extremely early or very late. And it was all in control of the bus driver. I remember standing on bus stops on cold days, just waiting for sight of the bus reaching my stop because it was running late even though I was on time. And I couldn't be late because then I might miss the bus. But the bus could be late as long as it wasn't early. Even though sometimes it was early, it was a whole thing. I remember rushing to bus stops in a panic because if I missed it, there was another hour of waiting. I remember so much of my day being controlled by the timing of the bus and the bus driver and how frustrating it became over time on those long commutes to try to work and go to school. And whenever I step through a bus door or walk up bus steps, even if it's into an outfitted build or a friend's bus, I get that feeling again. I can respect a really good build. I even like looking at them. But whenever I walk through bus doors or walk up bus steps, I have a moment of remembering cold bus stops, crowded buses, late buses that made me late, buses that came just a little bit early that I missed, and me standing frustrated on the bus stop, and the general nightmare of having no other way to get around and do anything without the bus. The most exciting thing that happened when I got my first car was being able to drive to the grocery store, take my groceries out of the store, put them in a trunk, and drive home without having to drag everything to the bus stop and wait for a bus and then worry about how many seats I might have to take up with my groceries. I think when I'm in the seat of my box truck, it just feels like my van, like any other vehicle. There's just a box behind me. And that feels, I don't know, right. Don't get me wrong. When I see a nice schoolie build, again, I am as impressed as many others. But I just don't think I would have been as happy in a bus. And when this box truck dies on me, I can't see myself in anything else but another box truck. Though I wouldn't mind one with a cool side door. Every time I see one of those, I am sad I didn't find one of those. So that's all I got for you. Just some reflections I had while I was sitting on the bus. And I wanted to share, and I thought it would make a really easy, simple video, which it probably won't turn out to be. I'll probably spend way more time on this than I should. And I can't wait to see you guys and talk to you in the next video. See you later. Thank you for joining me for yet another video. You know what we do at this time. Do those things you do on YouTube to support people. Leave those thumbs up. Leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of the video. And I ain't got a lot more for this one because honestly, I am still super tired. So I'll catch you next time.